Roger Wallace. He got a reprieve from football for a little while, and got to enjoy some basketball as the Texas Longhorns were off. Let's talk about the off week and just the way that you spent it, your team spent it, and what do you think that Sark and the players were able to accomplish there, getting a little rest?
Yeah, I think that's the key. Got some rest and kind of got away from everything. They got healthy,
Mm-hmm.
not just because of the bye week, but the extra week off. He said Michael Tapp's good to go. Jelani McDonald's good to go. They both missed games. Ryan Wingo didn't miss games, but he missed most of the Vanderbilt game. He's good to go. It sounds like back at workout this morning.
Mm-hmm.
So three really key players. Michael Tapp, obviously, so important, especially a game like Saturday at Georgia, where crowd's going to be a factor, making sure everybody's lined up.
Mm-hmm.
Anthony Hill's coming off a couple of monster games, but yeah, I'm sure they took advantage of it. Sark said he watched a lot of football. Said Kirby Smart texted him on his way to Starkville from the hotel in Tupelo and asked what he was doing. He goes, "Well, I had breakfast, I worked out, and I'm going to watch you guys play." So, they formed a pretty good friendship over the years. But yeah, it was nice to step away and just watch games. And now, what a 3-week stretch for this team. And
Oh
who
yeah.
knew this is where they would be when we were talking that Monday after the Florida game.
Yeah, absolutely right about that. Going into the SEC Media Days this past year, Gunnar Stockton and Arch were there, and I thought that Arch obviously had 8 million cameras following him and whatnot, and he almost looked like a Hollywood celebrity. Meanwhile, Gunnar Stockton, obviously he's a quarterback, so there was some people following him. But if you didn't know he was the Georgia quarterback, you would have thought he was just a member of the media. And it was the hype was very different between the two. However, they came in with interesting storylines because both guys played limited action the year before, but they made the most of their opportunities. Now that you see, 8, 7, 8, 9 games into the season, where do you see these two quarterbacks as they line up here for this big top 10 matchup?
Yeah, well, Gunnar Stockton around Texas is a 4-letter word because Longhorns figured they were going to win that SEC championship game. They knocked Carson Beck out of the game on the last play before the half with the lead and come out, and Stockton kind of ran through them and made enough plays, and eventually they beat him in overtime. So Texas was the first team to find out about this guy, and he's just really solid. Arch is coming on. His last 2 games have been his best, even though he got knocked out of the Mississippi State game before they were able to win it. You see the numbers right there, but in the last 2 games, 6 touchdowns, 1 pick, and he's thrown for nearly 675 yards in that time. So Texas doesn't have the running game that Georgia does, and we saw that on full display with over 300 yards Saturday against Mississippi State, another team that you thought Texas might be able to run on, and they were not able to. So I think Texas is asking Arch to do more than Gunnar Stockton, and he has responded the last 2 weeks, and I think that's going to be the case Saturday night between the hedges for Arch Manning. And boy, Ohio State was a little unfair to make that the coming out thing with all the hype. This one's a little different now. It's game 10. It's a top 10 matchup. Texas sneaks back into the top 10. Way more important, though, is somehow getting through the end of the season. I'm not going to say 3 losses eliminates them. I think if they can win 2 out of these 3, that means they've either beaten Georgia on the road or they've beaten maybe a number 2 or 3 ranked Texas A&M team, depending on the other conferences. But boy, what a turnaround it would be if the Longhorns, they're only an underdog for the second time this year. The other time was Columbus.
Roger, you mentioned that Arch has played better the last 2 games than he arguably has all season. But the thing that I kind of point to, and we talk about this more with the MLB more than anything, with teams getting that first round bye, that extended time off sometimes comes back to haunt these teams. Do you think Arch having an extra week off before this Georgia game could harm him or do better for him?
It's a good question because he played really well against Vanderbilt after going into protocol. So I guess the most logical answer is it will help because the guys around him got healthier. A Wingo, for instance, a Cole Hudson, who they moved to left guard in the Vanderbilt game, their starting center this year, gets another week to get ready, and other guys that we don't even talk about, I'm sure, were banged up. So it's not like it's the same situation. Georgia had to play Texas didn't. So it's a little bit different than if both teams going with a bye. So I will say it helped him because it helped the guys around him. Not to mention, I'm sure he's beat up too. So
Right.
I would think it's all good because he's coming off a positive performance. So he doesn't have any lingering thoughts, bad thoughts about how he played in his most previous game. So I would think all that helps, but I don't know if it makes a difference Saturday night. I think, what happens between that Georgia defense and can the Texas offensive line hold up? And suddenly can this defense at Texas hold up? They've given up 30 plus in 2 straight games.
Right, exactly. And this is a rematch of last year's SEC championship game. That, of course, was a thriller that went to overtime. And got a chance to hear from Coach Steve Sarkisian about this matchup 2.0.
Since we lost to Florida, the first bullet point when I talked to the team about what it takes is this is an SEC championship game. And that went back now for the last month. And so this week's not different that way. It's not like we're putting more into it than that. It is what it is. If we want to play in an SEC championship game, we got to win Saturday night. It just is what it is. And so let's focus on what we need to do today to make that happen. I think early on, we were a little too focused on what was down the road. And I think we've gotten a maturity of a team now that is focused on the task at hand and what's right in front of us. And that's what this game requires. This game against Georgia requires all of its attention that it deserves. And that attention isn't just Saturday night at 7:30. It's the attention that it deserves today at 7:15 this morning in our first team meeting.
Now, since the loss at Florida, going into that Florida game, the only other road game was, of course, the Ohio State game. They've had 2 road games, both against Kentucky and Mississippi State. Won both games. Both games went to overtime, but vastly different in the style of play. One was a 16-13 game. One game was north of 30, 40 points, 70 points scored each. What kind of game do you see playing out here at Georgia? And, of course, now if it goes to the extra session, Texas feels really good about their chances winning the last 2 overtime games.
Yeah, that's right. Even though they lost the overtime game to Georgia, I don't know. Maybe somewhere in between. I don't see how Texas can get into a shootout with Georgia because I think Georgia's defense will make more plays than Mississippi State did. Conversely, I think Texas's defense can make plays, but they've got to show something against that Georgia run game that they haven't shown the last couple of weeks. Now, Diego Pavia is kind of a wild card because nobody's really like him. And so a lot of what Vanderbilt did was because of, his unique skill set and what he can do to defenses and suddenly make defenses look really bad. Mississippi State's another matter. It's not a great offensive team, and they had a lot of success. Blake Shapen had a lot of success against Texas, and it's not like Texas was giving them short fields. They threw the one pick that was tipped, but that was in Mississippi State territory. So, I think it's somewhere in between. But I think it's going to take something for Texas, a takeaway, a defensive touchdown. Can't keep asking Ryan Niblett to be the guy. And I think Kirby Smart and them will have a game plan against Niblett. Sounds funny, right? A punt returner, but he's one of those special talents. But I just think it's going to be really tough for Texas to go down there unless they can get some takeaways, get some easy points to come out with a victory. And Sark was asked about Alabama. I think everybody uses that as a litmus test because they shocked everybody in their last year in the Big 12 when they went to Alabama. And he's like, well, that was a different team. It was a different time. I don't think you can keep going to the well on that Alabama game as kind of the baseline for, hey, you can, shock another team on the road like you did in Tuscaloosa.